Okay, so I got a lot of responses from people asking me to cover the characters I did not mention. So this video will cover all the characters from all franchises that I did not mention and why I don't expect them to see much change in how much they're played. Just because a character may have received buffs doesn't mean people will flock to them if they're not easy to win with to begin with. So with that said, let's get started. So first up from the Blazblue side, we have Noelle. Noelle mainly got quality of life changes. JC decreased recovery frames, EX Bloom Trigger is better, her 5p and her 6p have both been improved. Okay, but where's the meat? What makes her good for everyone to want to play now? The answer is it's not here. Noelle won't see any dramatic uptick in play because quite frankly there is a really low amount of players that play her now. The only people actively looking to play her post-patch are character loyalists, Tager. Now Tager is a character that you typically rarely find outside of Team Big Boys. As such, Tager play I believe heavily relies on what happens to Waldstein. And if you saw what I said about Waldstein, you know I expect him to drop. Tager didn't get anything big, just merely quality of life changes as the patch has done for every other character. So with that said, I'll move on here. Hakumen. Okay, so before I start on Hakumen, let me just say this now. Hakumen is much more rare to find than Tager players outside of Team Big Boy. As such, I don't see any reason for him to increase. Now the upside to Hakumen is that he does have a lot of damage output, but that alone is not a very great thing because if you still struggle to get in, then how much damage you put out doesn't really matter. But if that's all you're really looking for, Hakumen is definitely the character for you. Makoto. Okay, now this is where I expect to get the hate. Makoto I don't expect to have any change. Now yes, she did get a nice overhaul to her moveset, better frames to her toolkit overall, 5p is better startup and for 6p, but she still sucks at range. I think this is where her problems lie. See, when you have characters at the top that can poke at you from a distance and keep you out or just outright outdo her in every department, you have the definition of an uphill fight. To be perfectly honest, since it appears that Heart, Yang, and Makoto are all practically from the same archetype, Makoto is the Weiss out of the group. Need I continue here? Platinum. Platinum just got damage buffs, so literally if she wasn't good enough for you before, she's not good enough for you now. Moving on. Azrael. Another one of the characters that was heavily requested. Now Azrael lacks great movement. Now I have seen a few good teams with him, but most of those teams have Gordeau or Kanji hiding his poor movement. So why do I keep bringing up his movement? Well, because even on a small screen, his movements is one of the biggest turnoffs for a lot of players. Sure, you get a lot of damage, but that damage doesn't matter when you can literally be kept out or be poked out of any situation. So let's move on to the persona side. So first up, the character that everyone loves to say is the worst character in the game, Yukiko. Yukiko did get a lot of buffs across the board, almost a complete rewrite, but the reason I don't foresee a lot of people picking her up is that she's been written off of the game as the worst character in the game for so long. As such, she would need to come out of the patch swinging and being very dangerous to make people respect her as a character that's actually very viable. But as the theme of the video has been so far, as you can see, whatever she can do, others can just outdo her much better or completely shut her down. So with that said, I don't expect much change in her play here. So I'll move right on along to the next character, Kanji. Now Kanji, I'll be honest, Kanji is a character I was torn on. I could see a potential increase in him, but at the same time, like Azrael, how is he gonna get in safely? Now yes, if Kanji does get in, it becomes a 50-50 game if you come out alive or not. Because if you guess wrong, you die. I think he's the only character who actually got his movement speed increased, so what does this really say about characters of his archetype? Kanji isn't a bad character by any means, it's just that compared to the rest of the cast that hit faster or can avoid his game plan, he just kind of falls a little short. Lapras. Lapras got buffs and nerfs. She does have her axe gimmick, which means if you can raw super with red axe, she can pretty much get a free kill. But other than that, she didn't get anything too great. So with that said, I'm just gonna move on to the last character. Last but not least, Weiss. Now after some people saw what Weiss could do in the post-patch game, it looked like she may have actually attracted a few new players. Well, that is until people remembered that, like the brawlers I mentioned earlier, Weiss is the weakest out of her subclass. Mitsuru outdoes her in every department and Orie can just shut her down. Now yes, Weiss did get a lot of much needed buffs, but you see, unless you are already playing her, you're not likely to go hunting to play her now because of these buffs. Again, all of this is in perspective of the entire roster, not just the bubble of their franchise. Now yes, I would love to see more Weiss players as she is my sub character. Realistically speaking though, she does struggle to get in and stay in. But that's my final take on all the characters I left out, guys. Let me know what you think on this in the comments below.